Hello, thank you so much for dropping by this video. So I saw a great question here on YouTube and I thought I just so excited to respond to it. It's a very important question. The person asked, what should we make of Emperor Justinian's decree in the it's actually the second ecumenical council in the 6th century against universalism, and that any assertion that the suffering of those in Gehenna was temporary is anathema to the church. Why did the later church fathers become so opposed to the apokostasis, which I'm sure is mispronounced, but it's the Greek for the restoration of all things? Or is this history of reading ill-informed? So thank you so much to the person who asked, and great question. No, that's my understanding that you have the historical facts down, and that's almost a direct quote of Emperor Justinian. So the question is why? We may never have an exact answer. Why people do what they do. It's a very, very interesting topic. But here's one. I'm going to give you one factual answer, one speculative answer, and then a personal answer. So the factual answer is that an early church father, Tertullian, who was in the Latin Church, which of course evolved into the Catholic Church, was one of the first fathers to really advocate this view. He didn't advocate it strongly, but he did advocate this view. And in his writings, and here's the beginning of an answer to your question. In your writings, he wrote that he took great delight in the idea that his theological opponents would spend an eternity in hell being suffered. So Tertullian basically was a kind of a sick person. We all have momentary feelings of pleasure when we think of like someone who's done us wrong, like them getting they're getting their just reward. It's obviously even that, but we can all relate to that. It's part of being a flawed, fallen human being. But Tertullian took it to a new level. He delighted in the eternal torment of anyone who disagreed with him. So think about that. It's one thing for us to, be like, oh, that person who did me wrong, I hope they get their fair whatever. Tertullian was like, hey, you disagree with me, you deserve to be tortured forever. And that thought made him really happy. So that's a partial answer. Is this idea of is a very twisted, I almost want to say evil twist in a human heart is part of what's behind this, part of why it became a heresy. A speculative answer, which is not mine, many other people have put it out there, is that this idea of eternal hell would make people afraid to question the doctrines and create more dependency on the church. Now, it's very interesting that it's an emperor who so firmly advocated this, because at that point in time, the Roman government had become enmeshed with the Catholic Church. So many people have speculated, and I think it's a very logical speculation, that it was through the desire for, at that point, again, the two were merged, religious and political power, and creating dependency on the church, and creating fear that, oh my God, if I leave the church, then I'm going to spend an eternity in hell. And we can still see that today. Even people who aren't members of the Catholic Church are afraid to question Christian doctrine for fear of eternal hell. So it's a very powerful idea. And that's actually how cults operate. Every single cult has an exclusivity clause in it, and then also some kind of punishment in it, meaning, we're the only ones who have the truth, and if you leave us, really bad things are going to happen. Of course, this is taking that to the exponential level, but that's every single cult operates that way. So in some ways, you could say that the Catholic Church and then all Christian churches that believe in eternal damnation are really just displaying the dynamics of a cult. On a personal level, and this is not so personal, but this is someone else's personal experience. I encountered someone online who has become a Universalist, and they said that at the beginning, when they heard of Universalism, the thought that everyone would be saved, that idea made them very afraid. They weren't able to say why, and to this day they don't know why. But it's very interesting. I found that person sharing very interesting. And so, the creation of this doctrine very well, I believe, is just rooted in fear and in a kind of sadism. The sadism is put forth by Tertullian, and the fear of uh, some of it could be vague. The fear of the Emperor Justinian of losing power, or just this vague fear that's hard to even know what it's about. So thank you so much for asking. Thank you to everyone who's dropped by this video. I hope it was helpful. And let's close with some good news. The original good news, which people are waking up to again. Apokostasis. I'm sure I'm totally mispronouncing that. The restoration of all things. The salvation of all beings. That's some good news. Thanks so much for joining in.